Hi, as human beings, we all want to be understood. But part of being understood is having the ability to understand others. And so many times the noise or interference that gets in between what we're really trying to tell each other is a mixed match of communication styles. Just imagine if you could speak 4 different languages, and I were to ask you, well, which language would you use speaking to another person? You probably would ask me, well, what language do they speak? Because why would I use a different language? If I know the language that they speak, if I speak to him or her in their own language, it's going to make communication that much better. Well, in essence, that's what communication styles are. And so in the next following sessions, what you will see, you'll understand what are the different types of communication styles, how to determine what style is your primary and secondary preferred style, how to identify the styles of others that which you want to communicate with, and then most importantly, how to adjust your style to better communicate with them. So let's first get into understanding where we think we are individually on the Discommunication Style pattern. By now you should have taken the DISC self-assessment. So when you look at the model and just pull up this chart from the print off, whichever is your biggest part of the pie chart, so in this case it looks as though the red is, that is your most dominant, therefore preferred style. The style if someone was trying to sell to you or become your friend or want to engage you in a conversation, they would most likely be most successful in deploying. So in this case, this person is very strong on the D and has a follow-up of the I. Very, very common, having done this for a dozen years or so, that you'll see a dominant and then another pattern right after that style, which is not that far behind. Very few of these have someone who is 80-90% one style and none of the others. In reports you may have looked at already, you'll see this broken out into these 4 quadrants. It's where the DISC acronym comes from. The dominant styles, the influencer, the steady relator, and the compliant. Now, the most important thing to realize is that no one of these is better than the others. DISC is not an IQ test. DISC is not a skills assessment test. The best way to feel comfortable about DISC is pretend that you know how to speak fluently in 4 languages. If I were to ask you, which language would you use with a person? You most likely would respond, well, Rich, what language do they speak? If it's one of the 4 I speak, that's the one I'll choose. I mean, if I'm fluent in Spanish and the person speaks Spanish, why would I try to speak Italian to them? That would only make them feel uncomfortable. So would English. So would French. Not only would it make them feel uncomfortable and not wanting to make the conversation go longer, it would be fraught with misinterpretations and miscommunication issues. So DISC is the same way. Each of us will have a preferred style that, given our druthers, if we were to be sold to, if someone was trying to appeal to get us to be interested in them, they would be wise to adopt to our style. But when you're communicating either to salespeople, to your peers, or to your employees, and you want to make sure that your communication is excellent, many times what you have to do is adjust your style to that of the other person. It's built off of a XY axis where on the x-axis we have active on one side and reserved on the other. And on the task orientation side, or y-axis, task versus people. So a good way to see how this works is just think in terms of, if I told you were going to attend a training class with me, would the first thing you ask is, well, what it's about, which is task? Or would it be more about who else is invited? People. Would you want to have a quick net summary of what it's going to be about with only the details? That would make you active. Or would you want to know everything? Show me samples of the slides. I want to know why we're doing it, background on it. Give me information to read ahead of time. That would make you be more reserved and more data oriented. It's also this left brain, right brain thing. Nobody can excel in all 4 quadrants. And so we have one side of our brain, the right, that is that creativity portion. It's where our emotional intelligence, our imagination comes from. and so much of that is what we might know the creativity side, is that I and D side of our brain. Well, the left side is the logic. It's the logic, the attention to detail, the understanding, the non-emotional ability to look at things in a particular way. If you remember back to the Star Trek series of movies and TV shows, right? Mr. Spock was the classic logic only, free of any emotion, as a computer, X's and O's, things are right or wrong, and what's the logic behind this. And so most of us are some blend of these. And since that's our behavior, we typically would prefer to communicate that way. When we seek out people to be our close friends, and when people first meet us, good or bad impressions are typically made by people who communicate and who are like us. And that's why the saying goes that, most people like people who are like themselves. Most people have a tendency to hire in their own image and likeness. And the saying, birds of a feather flock together, has to do with behavioral and communication styles. But then there's that other thing, your mother may have told you, which is that opposites attract. And so if you're married or have a significant other, as you understand DISC, don't be surprised that 9 out of 10 times the person you've been so attracted to and maybe sharing a life with is the opposite DISC style of yours. And because this way the two of you make a team and you have what's known as compatible DISC styles. If you look in industry, so many people have led companies to success where maybe the CEO is a C and a D. So yes, they're direct, but they're really data oriented, not people oriented. They're a genius. They create something. And then he or she as the CEO has to hire someone to be president who is the I, the affable, the outgoing, can speak to the press, can speak to the shareholders, can hire salespeople, go out and be the face to customers. And when you combine those two together, all of the behavioral styles are covered at an executive office, and that makes the team so great. So how do we communicate? Well, if you know for sure that you're speaking to someone who is D, and those are the ones that typically give themselves away, because when you talk to them, they don't speak in full sentences. Remember, for a D, everything is netted out for me. Text messaging was a heaven sent compared to having to read emails. So if your D is not your primary style, if you're talking to a D, you would want to net out and be direct. Look, let me just give you the key points. Here's why I need to talk to you. Here's what's wrong. Here's what our options are to fix it. What would you like me to do? Don't try to be friendly. Don't try to talk to them about the weekend, etc. Remember, the way D looks at life is just give me the data. A D feels like, listen, I had a friend once. I don't need another one at work. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do a job and make as many decisions as I can in a shorter period of time. As such, a D feels like, look, if I make 12 right decisions and one wrong one, in the time it takes my competitor to only make 2 right decisions because they're going to overthink it, I'll win. If you know for sure that someone is an I, outgoing, friendly, bubbling, always likes to do public speaking, always dressed very well, then be friendly. Open up with some small talk and rapport. Ask them how they're doing, how their family's doing, how they enjoyed the weekend, etc. But I's want to engage first from a friendly point of view, with their perspective being life is short. Why can't we all be friends? With S, you need to be patient. S are typically people who are in a support role. They're very content supporting others within the organization. They most likely support their family as well. They're looking for things to be steady in life. Where a D would go crazy if you told them they were going to have the same job in the same company for 30 years. To an S, that sounds like heaven. Let me live in the same town with my same friends, very similar routine, working for the same boss in the same company, enjoying life. That's what's key to an S. And of course, when it comes to the C, C I like to think in terms of content. C are the people who are subject matter experts, whether they're lawyers, doctors, project managers, technical people. Right? They understand facts and details, and that's where they're most comfortably delving into. And so, as such, if that's not your style, you have to figure out how you're going to have a communication style with someone who wants facts and details. And it perhaps might be around a subject that you're not familiar with. So as such, you want to make sure that you come with facts and data. You want to make sure that if you disagree with something they say, only disagree with facts and not the person presenting those facts. Well, Rich, you might ask, how do I know, what style everyone has? Well, one of the great tools is that people right now, everyone almost is on LinkedIn. So if you look at someone's LinkedIn profile, you can see what their background is. And someone who went to an engineering school and has been in a technical field most of their life is going to be strong C. It may not be their only thing. Most of us have more than one, a primary and a secondary communication style. And if you see someone who on LinkedIn, their net style is really, the way they talk is very short, 1 or 2 sentences about each job, assuming they wrote their profile, they're probably a D. So the way I always like to approach this is if you're not sure at all about their style and you're on a phone call with them, start off with offering a little friendly talk so that you don't offend someone with, "Hi, how are you today? Appreciate you taking this call." Ds will give themselves right away. D will say, "No problem, what's this about?" They'll want to go right to the detailed part of the meeting. The I will re-engage you back with more small talk conversation, etc., and that's how you know they're an I. The S's and C's will pass on the informative talk, the small talk. And when you get to each of them, the issue will be, to the S, you'd want to identify them with asking them how long they've been in the current role, how long they've been in the current position, etc. And the longer they've been, the more likely they are an S. And if they're a C, then you will basically hear from them words like process and data and facts. And so a key giveaway for someone is if they talk to you about anything and they say, "Well, what is your process for doing X, Y, and Z?" Right? Or how would you, logistically, how would you go about it? Do you have a system for doing something? Those are all words that tell you that the person you're talking to is most likely a C. How does each prepare, for example, for winter? Well, this is a classic example, right? So a D is big on action and not preparation. I don't need any special preparation. I'll tackle it in a heartbeat. Whatever Mother Nature throws at me, I'm ready for, right? The I looks about, hey, what kind of social engagement can we have? Snow, that's great. What a great chance for a snowball fight, or maybe even a white-themed party. Everyone will have a great time. S's are concerned about supporting their friends and family. I need to call all my friends and let them know that a storm is coming. A little longer notice from the weather changes would really be nice so that I and all my friends can prepare properly. Where the C views it as, I have a severe weather plan, I have a pantry that's always full, I have 3 cars that have snow chains and tires, always filled up on gas, I have enough food to last me for 6 months if we got a big snowstorm. And this will be a great time for me to demonstrate to everyone who's made fun of me in the past about how overprepared I am that you can't be prepared enough. And that's basically how people look at life, because that's their behavioral style. No one of these is wrong or right, even though we may have a chuckle. It's just how people react to certain situations. So you might say, well, how does that affect me in the workplace? Whether it's my peers and how they look at their career, or if I'm, really, our behavioral style does approach the way we look at our career. As a D, they view things as, I give 100% all the time. I get through every obstacle. I'm goal-oriented. All that matters is that I get my results and they're tangible. And this almost guarantees my success. Even if that means other people in the organization hate me, don't want to work with me, I'm so focused on making the goals that will override everything else. And I may view it as, listen, I make friends with everyone. Whenever there's an opportunity for promotion comes up, I'll be the first one to come to someone's mind because everybody likes to work with me. The C says, listen, I'm a great team player, and I am sure and steady. I'm very dependable. You can always count on me. And I always believe that, slow and steady is the way to go to have proven success and to show your excellence each step of the way. And I'm not interested in skipping any steps so that as I advance, everyone will know that I've got all the prerequisites done, and that will make both me and the hiring manager view me as the competent person. The C views everything from subject matter level expertise. I become an expert at anything I do and all that I do, and my work is impeccable. My keen attention to detail does not go unnoticed when a promotion is up for grabs. Even if it means I'm going to be late for deadlines and miss sometimes when projects are due, that's okay, because the end justifies the means, because I always feel as though there's always one more revision, there's always more data I can look at and apply, and more analysis so that the final product is more accurate. And in essence, each of these have good traits and bad traits we could think of in our personal life, but each of those are valid approaches to having a successful career. Now, following this, you'll see a couple of videos that explain again how the quadrants are, and a brief one on how to read on the profile page the two profiles that are most important, right? Profile 2 says, when it comes to discommunication styles, which ones are you most comfortable with today? What's your most natural style? And to the left of that, profile 1 will say, it's how you've told the system, you know, this is how I think I need to adjust to my current work environment. So enjoy, and I'll be speaking with you soon.
I'd understand where the other person is coming from, what they really want, and what their intentions are. You may also have an uncomfortable feeling the other person is having a similar experience. During the course of a conversation, have you lost a sale, frustrated a customer, demotivated an employee, or angered a friend? On top of that, did the interaction make you disappointed, frustrated, and even tired? It takes energy, effort, and concentration, and still, the results are not what you hoped they would be. Extended DISC provides you with the model to have more successful interactions with others. You will learn the 4 DISC styles, how to identify who you are and how others perceive you, leading to a more confident self-awareness, how to better read other people and understand them, and how to modify your behavior to become even more successful. Extended DISC is based on the most widely used and accepted model of human behavior. The power of this model is that it is easy to learn, understand, and use because it identifies only 4 behavioral styles of individuals. People can be divided into 4 main styles by identifying if they are more people or task-oriented, reserved, or active. The resulting 4 behavioral styles are called D style, I style, S style, and C style. As you learn about the 4 DISC styles, please keep these important points in mind. None of the styles are better or worse. Each DISC style has strengths and development areas. However, the strengths and development areas are different for each style. DISC styles do not limit what an individual can accomplish or how successful someone can be. It simply predicts how an individual tends to do things. Highly successful individuals can beat any of the 4 DISC styles. However, successful people have a confident self-awareness and have the ability to modify their style with different people and situations to become even more successful.